Welcome to another Woody's Secret Garage video. Today we are back on the L322. The job of the day is to change the auxiliary belt. Simple job, it might sound, but I've done a good search and I found a good guide on the Full Fat forum, so I'm going to take you through that. Join me, let's see how we get on. I bought lots of bits which I'll show you along the way. Well, I've done the first thing, and that's get the car up on axle stands, which is pretty essential. But I'll show you the guide I'm following, so you can look it up. It's on Full Fat RR, which is a great forum. I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, the first job is to remove the radiator cowl. This bit has to come off. Obviously, there's loads of stuff that has to come off around it. These two air filter boxes, pipes, basically anything that's on top of this. Yeah, work my way methodically through the instructions and see how we get on. These elbows from here, and the air boxes, I think. Right, that's that spun out of the way. Next thing is to get this out the way, which means moving these relays. Not a big job. Right, I've just taken the passenger side air box out, which is pretty straightforward. There's these two rubber bungs here and here. I actually just got a bit of wood and levered the airbox out. It pops out, and then there's that one at the bottom. But on this airbox, you've got a vacuum pipe just here that has to come off. So make sure you undo that before you wrench it all off. And also on this driver side airbox, there's a couple of grommets for this lube that go around to the sensor. This is my method of getting the airbox out. Bit of wood in there. Pops it out quite easily, and it should just pick up. So that's the two airboxes out the way. The next job is to remove the coolant expansion tank, which I'm quite pleased about actually, because as you can see, mine is not exactly clean because the oil cooler was on the way out. So I bought a new genuine Jaguar Land Rover bottle, so I'm going to be replacing that as well. Right, have a look at this. This bolt, little rusty 10mm bolt at the bottom of the expansion tank, needs to come out. It's just giving me the fear. I haven't even tried to undo it. So I'm going to soak it in some plus gas and go and have a cup of tea and come back to it. Right, I know what a pain this bolt could be, so I'm giving it some assistance. I'm giving it a bang with a cold chisel, just to try and shock it. It's had lots of plus gas on it. I've had a cup of tea. I'm going to try and tweak it up a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it just snapped straight off. And it's not 10mm, it's 8mm, which makes it even more unpleasant. Right, at least that's on. Let's just see if I can tighten it up a little bit. Yes, that's good news. It took a little tightening. Happy days. Possibly nothing to worry about in the first place, but having recently sheared off a nut when doing something on the Citroen DS, better safe than sorry. Right, on to the next one. Let's go and take this bottom pipe off. Some of it's gone in the container. Right, I'm literally on bolt number 1 of the fan cowling, and there's a clip on this aircon pipe that you undo, which is pretty straightforward. But then I've had to use a chock of wood just to move the pipe out of the way, just enough to get a 8mm socket on this first nut. So I'm just hoping the others aren't quite so awkward. All right, take a look at this one. This one's a pain. This down pipe's got a couple of pipes on it that need disconnecting. There's also a vacuum pipe that runs down the side of it. But this, to get this out, which, you know, says needs doing, there's a Jubilee clip at the back there. So I've just got a couple of extension rods. So hopefully that's the next pipe to remove, this air pipe. Page 1 of the instructions done. So passenger side, look down the side of the right cowl, and you'll see a wiring loom. Unclip all the connectors and using the trim tool, remove the plastic rivets. So this is still removing the cowl for the fan. This bundle of stuff was all connected to the cowling, so it's electrical loop and also some vacuum pipes as well. So really careful not to damage them. But that's all away. It's some top intercooler pipes, I think. Right, I'll show you how I'm getting on. It is slow work. I've got this the throttle body off, and a little bonus job. I bought a new seal for this, but I lost it, and I found it. It had fallen down, and it's still in this bag, down by the water expansion bottle. So I'm just going to refit that, and then carry on getting out the fan cowling. So I still haven't even got to the pulleys and stuff yet. So next thing this guide tells you to take off is this water pipe. So that just unclips with that. You can see the spring clip. You can just reach in. There's no water there now after I've lost it all. And then this is going to come off, disconnect here. And this is the infamous brittle pipe. This one here. So just be super careful. All right, once the water hose is out of the way, it's then just these two bolts for the AC pipe, and then on the cowl, there's some bolts here and here. This is hot work. I've just removed the second turbo valve. I'll show you where it is. It's still in place, but I'll show you how it's attached. It's that bit of gubbins down there. It's attached to the cowl with 3 bolts. And there's 2 big intercooler pipes. Obviously air flows through it, and apparently it can be pulled out from the top. So that's my next job, to extract it via, I'll have to try and create some sort of gap, but it's supposed to come out through the top, so we'll have a go. This is a vital part of Range Rover maintenance, the step, so you can actually get up into it. I've got the turbo bypass valve out. It did come out the top, not the bottom. Hopefully I haven't damaged anything getting it out. But there's one more bolt, and then I think the cowl is coming out. So the next thing is to get the fan off. So I bought some Amazon special fan spanners, which I've never used before. But I think this one with the hole in has to lock into one of these holes, but I'm going to have to move the engine around a bit to get a spanner on it. So let me just do that. Right, here's the 2 spanners. So this one obviously is the right sort of size to fit the actual nut on there, and this one is too big, so the nut can spin within here, but it anchors on one of these nut heads. So I've now got to basically try and move, in effect, put that on, put this one on, and turn this one clockwise, because I know it's a left-hand thread. Right, well that was incredibly easy to get off. Now I can just spin it clockwise. I think it's only held on by the fact that it's got a left-hand thread. So Well, I think I found a cowling fixing that's not mentioned in this instruction. So it's on the driver's side, about halfway up. And you need to access it. It's going to be hard to show you. You need to access it down the side of the fan. The fan's actually got some like a brush type material. But that's my socket bar going in. So you have to go between the outside ring of the fan through the sort of draft excluder bit to get to this final 8mm bolt. Right, the fan's loose. Fan's off its spindle. This aircon pipe is going to have to go there for the cowling to be lifted out, so I'm going to just cable tie that back, get it out of the way. Yeah, there's the final bit of wiring I'm doing down here just to unclip from the cowl. Oh, that was easier. Just got to remember to put that back on first. Right, that's me done for today. It's been slower than I thought, but it's been quite useful instructions, well, very useful instructions. Without it, I wouldn't have had the confidence to tackle it. So hopefully tomorrow morning, I will be able to change the pulleys and the belts. We shall see. As you can see, the main clearance work is done of the fan cowling and the fan. Fan came off really easily. I'm not sure whether it needed me extravagant, very cheap versions of the fan spanners, but always useful to have the right tool. But yeah, so there we are. More tomorrow. Right, day 2 for the auxiliary belt and fan belt. So the water bottle, the new water bottle I bought, is the wrong one. So I've just cleaned up the old one. That's going back in. And the first job, I think, is to loosen off the water pump bolts, because if I take the auxiliary belt off first, then I won't be able to get purchase on them. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the water pump. So I'm going to loosen these off and then basically start to get to the pulleys, I hope. I'm not sure how much of this stuff is going to have to come out of the way, but we'll see. So these 3 bolts are just loosened, so that means the pulley can come away once the fan belt's off. So once the auxiliary belt is off. This is my fan belt, which I need to cut. I've just checked the part numbers against the part numbers on the new belt. I've gone for all genuine regular Land Rover parts here because I figured, well, they've lasted 10 years. I don't even know if this vehicle will last another 10 years, but I thought I'd go the genuine parts route for all the pulleys and belts, and also a water pump. Interestingly, the cost of a genuine water pump is the same as the cost of a genuine belt tensioner, so it's not significantly expensive. Anyway, let's just start. On the off chance that you have absolutely no idea what a belt tensioner does, it's just basically a big spring-loaded arm with a wheel at the end, and the belt here runs around the wheel. And I've got a socket on here to show you. There's a fixie on the belt tensioner there that you can get a socket onto, like so. It's easier with 2 hands. I need my wrench down this way a bit, and then if you pull clockwise, you'll see the belt tensioner moves and the tension is removed from the auxiliary belt. So I'm just going to do that and pull the belt off. Before I take all these off, I thought I'd give them a quick spin. That's the tensioner, so that's completely quiet. This is another one of the idlers. Spinning, that's really quiet. This top one next to the water pump, this smaller one, that's noisy and has some rock in it, so that is definitely on its way out. Here's my pile of bits. I've labelled up this this diagram, which you'll probably be familiar with. with the Jaguar Land Rover parts, and I've got them in my boxes in roughly the right place. So one at a time. I'm hoping I can't get the wrong thing in the wrong place. And that's my water pump. New auxiliary belt and new fan belt. I cut the old fan belt off. It's sort of hard and a bit crispy, and it didn't give up much resistance when I snipped it with my tin snips. Right, so that feels like good progress. That's the first one on. Just gotta torque it up. These 65mm pulleys, they get torqued to 48 Newton meters. I swapped torque wrench to the old school brittle. I don't know why. It's got a big spring on it. Looks more reliable. So that's 48 Newton meters on that one. These dust caps come off really easily, so I'm sure we don't need to buy new ones. Next, I'm going to take this one off, which is going to make it easier to change the tensioner. So this one off, then the tensioner, then this one back on. So this is the old tensioner. You can see this wheel here has actually got a lip on the inside edge of this pulley. There's no discernible play in the bearing. I was just checking that. Oh, that's the old one gone. But the new one is a lip right at the edge. But yeah, obviously time for a change. That's the belt tensioner back on. But this it's only got 10mm bolts, and this just takes 25 Newton meters of torque. So it's quite, well, it's not too much really, 25 Newton meters. So I've cracked out the smaller torque wrench for this one. This is the bigger pulley on this side, so this has a much higher torque. I think this one's 80 Newton meters for this, so I'll just get that torqued up. Right, next is the water pump. So I've done 2 of these 10mm bolts. I'll take this pulley off, and I'll be able to get to the water pump behind it, I hope. All 4 bolts of the water pump removed. It's just, I'm hoping it'll just, possibly should have got the container underneath. That's the water pump out. Although this looks like really rusty water, it's not. It's just pink. But you can see a little bit of rust around the lip of that aperture. This is also showing a few signs of wear and tear. So good to have a new one in whilst doing this job. The key issue is this O-ring, I think, has just come to the end of its life. So all the rust on this side, on the closest, on the bottom of the picture, the only reason that rust is there is because there's water getting out through this O-ring. So I guess if this O-ring continues to fail, then you're going to get a constant leak from the water pump. You can see which way around it was because the top of it is still nice and shiny. There's no noise from the bearing. There's no play. So, you know, who knows? New O-ring, stick it back in. But as you saw earlier on, I've got a new one with maybe just an expensive O-ring. Who knows? Let's get this refitted. That's the water pump back on. All four bolts torqued to 23 Newton meters. So now I'm going to move over here and see what I can find with the other pulleys. This water pipe here that has a quick release clip to the thermostat housing is directly in the way of the drive to that pulley. So I can't see of a way of getting to that with a bar without moving this pipe out of the way. Right, slight correction. There's actually 2 bolts that hold this water pipe on, one at the top and one lower down. So 2 brackets there, that's the bottom one and that's the top one, and that's 3. Still sweating. I think I'm just about to get the auxiliary belt back on. I'll show you how I've got on. So it's all on around, and this is the last bit I've got to. So where are we? Yeah, that's the tensioner pulley, and I've tucked the belt down underneath it. So I'm then going to just try and lift the tensioner up with the 21mm socket. Once I've just double checked I've got as much free play in the belt, I've pulled the belt through as much as possible, which will give me the best chance of getting it on. So I'm going to give the belt this bit, I'm going to pull that to the right to make sure the belt is as tight as it can go before it's tensioned, and then yeah, see if it pops on. Right, progress. The belt's now on, so I'm just doing a visual inspection of the alignment of the belt. Put these 2 fixing bolts back in, the 2 8mm bolts that came out of this water pipe. It's now clipped back onto the thermostat housing with the clip pushed down, this one here, this quick release clip. So that's that done. Right, this is going to be my first attempt at putting the fan belt back on. So I have, as you can see, I've cut a piece of the old fan belt to protect the new fan belt. I've rotated the engine so these mould grips are up against this kind of block, so they're going to be held in place that way by this block there. So I'm just going to turn the engine, see if it pops on. I've got my pliers round to about 7 o'clock. This belt's kind of coming off the top, but hopefully I'll be able to get that on better in a minute. Hot work, but I've got the fan belt on. I'll show you. Well, you saw how I did it with the mold grips, but there was a little complication, but all manageable. When it came on, the belt was over this edge of this pulley, so by keep turning it and applying pressure like that, it then came on here, but then it was not fully on this way, so I then reversed the engine by using the crank shaft bolt there, and then it's all sorted itself out. So that's on, the belt's on, the pulleys are on. I'm going to have a cup of tea. Next stage is put it all back together again. I'm re-energized by a cup of tea, and the instructions now say putting everything back is a reversal of the steps above and is much quicker. Just make sure all clips are tightened, all cables reconnected, coolant is topped up, and you're good to go. Let's see how I get on. I'll just show you this as well. This was these are all the bolts that came out of the cowl, kind of numbered in the number that I took them out. So if I start with number 15, that's the driver's side, that's the passenger side. It just gives me calmness rather than just a whole pile of bolts, not knowing where each one came from. Yeah, that bolt there is a real pain. So I've put it back in without refixing the fan yet, but I'm going to do the fan next and then just work my way around. So I fitted one bolt at the bottom, which is in the middle of the 3 fixing positions for the secondary turbo bypass valve. So now I've got to fit that to the cowl, and you can see there's the U-bend of the valve that's got to go into that rubber pipe before I can get it close. So I'm just going to do that next. Right, that's now slotted in, so I'll pull up my 3 screws for the, what's that say? Cowl behind turbo. That's okay. I've used this one. Well, I should have used that one. That doesn't matter too much. Right, let's get the turbo bypass valve reconnected. The cowling is now fully reattached. No bolts left for the cowl. So the next stage is the top end. God, I don't know if this level of detail is useful, but putting all these this vacuum pipe back to the secondary turbo valve is a bit of a faff. You can sort of see the cables. So starting from the bottom, you've got the electric socket to the solenoid on that thing that clips in there. You then travel up, you've then got a little connector that holds both the vacuum pipe and the electrical harness, and that pops into the cowl. You then travel up a bit more, you've got a couple of connections here, and then there's this one that's pretty straightforward. You got another press fitting there. I thought I'd take a brief clip of this. This is the most awkward Jubilee clip to get to ever. It's the Jubilee clip that takes this air pipe, or fixes this air pipe from the filter. Right, just put the original expansion tank back in. I've cleaned it out as best I can with brake fluid cleaner. No, brake cleaner, yeah, brake cleaner, not brake fluid cleaner. So that's, there's a connection at the top, and the nut at the bottom, and reconnect the fill pipe. Right, pretty much all back together again. Everything's sorted in the engine. I'm glad to say that the expansion bottle looks a lot cleaner. Now I've cleaned it out, so there we go. That is my video of the drive belts and pulleys, with a big thanks to Furniture Man for laying the groundwork. So if you want to try this job yourself, have a read through this, see if the video helps. If it does, that's great. If you would like to subscribe, wonderful. I'll continue doing sort of my maintenance videos on the Range Rover, but also, as you've probably seen from my channel, there's a few other classics in the fleet, so I shall keep you updated on those. Anyway, until next time, thanks very much. Bye.